Today, we are diving into one of the most dramatic corporate and political clashes in recent memory. Apple, the pride of Silicon Valley and one of America's most iconic companies, is shifting operations overseas as a direct result of Donald Trump's tariffs, creating a ripple effect estimated at more than $16 billion. The fallout is hammering supply chains, driving up costs, and sparking headlines that would have once seemed unthinkable. Apple leaving America behind. This is not just a story about tariffs, it's a story about pride, power, global supply chains, and the decisions of one man at the center of it all, Apple CEO Tim Cook. For decades, Apple has been the crown jewel of American technology. The sleek iPhones, MacBooks, and AirPods have been more than products. They have been symbols of innovation, ambition, and U.S. leadership in the digital age. Apple was the company presidents pointed to when they wanted to boast about American greatness. But behind that success was always a fragile supply chain built on global integration. Factories in China, parts from Taiwan and Korea, assembly in Vietnam and India, all tied together in a carefully orchestrated system. That system made Apple powerful. But it also made Apple vulnerable. And when Trump unleashed tariffs on China, that vulnerability came crashing into the open. Tim Cook saw it coming. Long before the $16 billion tariff fallout made headlines, Cook warned Washington that tariffs would not achieve what Trump claimed. He publicly and privately told the administration that slapping taxes on imports would not bring jobs home. Instead, it would raise costs for American consumers, complicate supply chains, and force companies like Apple to make painful choices. He even met with Trump multiple times at the White House, trying to argue his case. Cook is not a politician, but as Apple's leader, he found himself thrust into political negotiations, trying to protect his company from policies he knew would backfire. In the end, Trump didn't listen. The tariffs came down hard, and Apple felt the hit. $16 billion in costs piled onto Apple's operations. Every iPhone became more expensive to make. Every shipment through U.S. ports became more costly. And Tim Cook had to make the choice no Apple CEO ever wanted to make: move more of Apple's operations overseas. Instead of bringing jobs back to America, the tariffs accelerated the very thing they were meant to stop. Cook's decision was not emotional, it was strategic. Apple cannot survive without efficiency in its supply chain. Its products are built on razor-thin margins and precise logistics. If tariffs disrupted that balance, Apple would have been forced to either raise prices dramatically or lose profit, both unacceptable for the most valuable company in the world. So Cook did what he always does. He calculated, adapted, and acted. Factories in Vietnam expanded. Operations in India accelerated. China, despite the tensions, remained deeply embedded in Apple's network. The message was clear. Apple was leaving, not fully, but enough to make an impact. And it was Tim Cook's steady hand that guided that pivot. The irony here is brutal. Trump positioned himself as the dealmaker who could force companies like Apple to return manufacturing to the United States. Instead, his policies handed Cook the justification to expand further abroad. Instead of gleaming new Apple factories in America, we see growth in Shenzhen, in Hanoi, in Bangalore. Instead of new American jobs, we see layoffs, cutbacks, and supply chain disruptions at home. The tariffs did not make America great again. They humiliated it, and Tim Cook's Apple became the clearest symbol of that failure. The fallout is everywhere. Apple's American suppliers are reporting fewer orders. Logistics firms tied to Apple are seeing shipments decline. Warehouses that once buzzed with activity are slowing down. Meanwhile, overseas facilities are thriving with new contracts. $16 billion in tariff fallout is just the official number, but the secondary effects may be even larger. Consumers are facing higher prices, retailers are bracing for shortages, Investors are watching Apple's stock swing with every new headline about supply chain tensions. And through it all, Tim Cook is steering Apple towards survival, even if it means leaving parts of America behind. Cook's leadership style has always been about discipline and quiet strength. He is not flashy like Steve Jobs was. He doesn't command a room with showmanship. Instead, he commands with results. He turned Apple into a cash-generating machine, the first trillion-dollar company, the most valuable brand in the world. And now, in the face of tariffs, he is proving again why he is one of the most skilled CEOs alive. He is not waiting for Washington to solve the problem. He is solving it himself by shifting Apple's balance even further overseas. It's not patriotic, it's not emotional, it's business. And it's working, at least for Apple, even as America absorbs the pain. The symbolism, however, is devastating. Apple leaving America, even partially, is more than a business story. It is a humiliation. For decades, Apple has carried the banner of "Designed in California" as a mark of pride. Presidents have used Apple as proof that America was leading the global tech race. And now, thanks to tariffs, the banner is fraying. The company that was supposed to embody American strength is showing that when policies collide with global realities, even the mightiest will walk away. Investors are watching Cook carefully. He has to balance Apple's reputation as an American icon with the cold realities of global economics. Already, some in Washington accuse Apple of being unpatriotic, of abandoning American workers. But Cook knows the truth. Apple's responsibility is to its shareholders and its customers, not to political slogans. If tariffs make America too expensive to operate in, then Apple will go where the math works. That is the brutal logic of capitalism, and Cook is following it. The $16 billion fallout is not just about Apple. It is about a shift in the balance of global trade. It is about America losing its grip on the very companies it once celebrated. It is about Asia rising as the true center of manufacturing power. And it is about a CEO who saw the storm coming and navigated his company through it, even if it meant leaving his country behind. For consumers, this means higher prices and more delays. For workers, it means fewer jobs and more uncertainty. For Washington, it means humiliation. The humiliation of watching Tim Cook, a calm, calculated executive, make a mockery of policies meant to force him into line. And for the world, it is a lesson. In the era of global supply chains, governments can shout, they can threaten, they can tariff, but they cannot control. Companies like Apple are too big, too global, too powerful. In the end, the image that remains is this: Donald Trump pushing tariffs to bring Apple home, and Tim Cook quietly moving Apple further away. $16 billion in fallout, shattered supply chains, higher consumer costs, and a humiliated White House. The story is not about who shouted the loudest, it is about who played the smarter game. And in this case, it was Tim Cook. The conclusion is clear. Apple may still say "Designed in California," but its future is increasingly being built overseas. Tim Cook has made the choice to adapt, to survive, and to win, even if it means leaving America behind. The tariffs that were supposed to bring strength have instead pushed America's most iconic company out the door. And the world will remember that.